The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky, and Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the exclusive sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter. Join the Stateside Winners Club. That's right. They're giving away a case of Stateside every single month. Just go to statesidevodka.com to enter. You just got to be 21. On the show today, boy, the Celtics fucking blow. The Sixers get right. Joel Embiid looks great, and they correct themselves after that atrocious effort against the Grizzlies. It is the 5-year anniversary of the Sam Hinkie resignation letter. We are in the final 4 of the Joel Embiid moment bracket, and that's about it. Hey, YouTube, we are over 4,000 subscribers, and we have a very special surprise coming if you're a YouTube subscriber during the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to want to be a subscriber. Special coming.
It's me podcasting in the dark again.
Yeah. There it is. Very special. Well, hopefully there's very few of those. That would be that'd be a good thing, right? If there's light with you the whole time, that'd be a good thing.
Light means, I can't overuse it, but if a dark loss means a dark podcast.
A dark mic, yeah. So subscribe, smash that subscribe button if you're watching. If not, go to YouTube, subscribe. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who's going to have to react to an email right off the top of the show. The email comes from Andrew Sharp. We just got the email 15 minutes ago. Just saw the Sixers Celtics score. Congrats, I guess. Personally, I'm disappointed because the pod is better when you guys are openly miserable. The good news is that the Sixers have been normal and competent for like 4 months now, which means we're due for some horrible news sometime within the next 2 months. TTP.
Yeah, that's not wrong. I mean, dodged a bullet with Embiid's landing there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have been relatively normal. This was a nice win. This was good. It always feels good to beat Boston. Do they play them again, or is that it?
No, that's it. That's it for the
3-0?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That feels good. And it's obviously a bad season for Boston, but I don't care. I don't care. They still have the same players in the team. Matt Moore made this point, hardwood paroxysm.
Not the Phillies pitcher.
Not the Phillies pitcher.
Okay.
That the Celtics had Horford and who both gave Embiid a lot of trouble, replaced them with no one.
Yeah,
with
Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice, who they then traded.
Sucks.
Yeah, and who isn't
Daniel
there.
Tice, who's good, but was overmatched against Embiid. Robert Williams, who obviously can jump out of the gym, but is not an intelligent player and fouls very quickly and regularly. Luke Cornett, who we obviously wanted for the Sixers as a stretch 5, but can't hang with Embiid. There's just like, he had to put in Taco Fall. Brad Stevens tried 4 centers on Embiid in the first half.
I mean, when you're trying Taco Fall, like it seems like you're sort of throwing up your hands and saying, I don't know what to do, right? I mean, I think he was actually fine, but seeing him in the game was sort of like an admission that he didn't know what to do.
That's a white flag for sure.
Yeah.
And so the Celtics just doubled Embiid almost every time he touched the ball, and Embiid for the most part with a couple exceptions. Moved the ball really nicely, and the Sixers' other players just really, especially the starters, swung the ball really nicely, found open looks underneath, cutters. I think it was best passing. I don't know. I don't know if that is reflected in the assists, but it just seemed like they were moving the ball really well and competently, and kind of knew where they were going to be. Just a lot of really good looks. It was really very nice. And Embiid, a rusty first game, 5 points on 9 of 19 shooting, getting to the line 20 times, is solid.
Well, and he looked so good in
+12.
the fourth quarter, by the way. Like, he looked great. He finally looked...
Yeah, the Harden step back on a long two. Just like being more physical. You know, you wish that they would make Taco pay a little bit for being like, make him defend in space against like some quicker guard, but they just don't have that type of player. That Taco would have to like come out to the 20 feet out and defend in space and stuff. But still, I mean, just a really good game. And even when Boston kept it close a little bit, it felt like the better team, and they are. And Celtics are under 500, and I take a tremendous amount of joy in that. I really, no matter what else is going on in my life, like this Celtics being bad is a real beacon of light, even if they have, not wearing their Cuss Cries jerseys, trying different like green color patterns. Whatever they do, it's just they're still the Celtics, and I enjoy their demise.
They do not pass the eye test. They at all, really.
They don't.
Like it seems like every shot is an off the dribble jumper, like every single one, and they don't pass the eye test as like moving the ball. It doesn't. I mean, I've been talking about Brad Stevens being on the hot seat for years now, but they look as sort of like uncohesive on offense as I've ever seen. Now, part of it is, boy, Kemba Walker just looks like a shell of himself. I mean, that quickness that he had and that sort of bounce that he had is gone. But there seems like there's just something wrong with them. Like, they are legitimately not good. They should be... They're super shallow, and to your point about Embiid is right, but like they should be better than they are, and they just look fucking terrible. I mean, they look terrible, really bad. So it's a bummer. Really, really sad that the Hayward thing worked out so poorly for them. Really sad that the Kyrie thing worked out so poorly for them. It's really just, in retrospect, it's a shame that all of those things just ended up with nothing. Those players just leaving for absolutely nothing. I will say the one Sixer who actually, it was almost a relief to see him not have a great game, was Tobias Harris, who through everything, through the hot streaks and cold streaks with everybody else, has been honestly maybe the most consistent player I've ever seen. Like the most consistent Sixer season ever. So he has a bad game, or not a great game, sort of good defense, but bad offensive game, gets through it, they win anyway, got it out of his system.
Well, not just good defense, my friend. Great defense. Excellent defense from Tobias. I mean, guy just gets his hands on everything. It was he had a nice, I genuinely think that, don't even say it. I genuinely think.
Oh no.
Them, like Matisse and Ben being like who they are and like learning and showing who they are defensively, and then going up against each other in practice makes the other guys do similar stuff. I really think like you're seeing like rear contests from guys who never what?
That doesn't seem impossible. I thought you were going to say something crazier. I was bracing myself for it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just think like you watch the way like Korkmaz defends and the way Tobias defends now, even Seth a little bit, and I think that like Danny and Ben and Matisse are really rubbing off on these guys, and it's very impressive. Like Tobias played great defense. He played great defense. Danny had so many pokeouts. They forced 22 turnovers, which is a season high for Boston, or season bad. I don't say season low. It's low for them, but it's a season high, which is bad.
Right.
So season high seems generally
season worst.
Season worst. Yeah, season worst is good.
Season bad is funny.
Season bad I like. They just had swarming activity, a lot of length.
Season bad.
they really forced a lot of ugly Boston passes, and some of it was just like sloppiness on their part. I'm not going to give them credit for everything, but I think that was one of the best defensive games I've seen them play this season, like start to finish. And I think a lot of it came from, or some of it at least was, it seemed like Embiid and Dwight stepped up a little bit more in their pick and roll coverages. And so often, how many times when you play Boston do you see Jalen or Jason or Kemba or even Marcus like walking right into like a wide open shot,
right?
Where no one's
against the Celtics all the time, all the time. Yeah,
and it didn't seem like there was that much of that tonight. And I think it's because Embiid and Dwight weren't dropping quite as much, and so even just stepping up a little bit allowed them to get their hands on some balls when they're trying to make those passes and strip and effective passes and stuff. And I just thought it was a good adjustment. It was nice to see them not, go so underwater without Embiid out there. Although the starters were the only positive plus minuses, which is just happens. But I really liked everybody's defensive effort tonight.
And I don't want to be remiss, but I would be remiss if I did not mention that once again, Danny Green just fucking hit shot after shot after shot after shot.
Unbelievable run he's on.
It really is. The only fear I have is that 3-point shooting comes in waves, and boy, I've been through this
for some bad stretches for sure.
Yeah, I've been through it with that Covington playoff series against the Celtics. Maybe scarred me forever. Yeah, and I can't have my specific guy again just go 1 for 26 in a playoff series for 3 or something. So I'm a little nervous about that.
Danny's been unbelievable lately.
Yes.
Just absolutely unconscious from 3. He was 5 of 6 tonight from 3. Played really solid defense. I thought moved the ball really nicely, passed well. He's got his last. Let's look at the last 3-4 weeks.
We'll just look at the split since All-Star, I guess.
Yeah, since All-Star, but just like run through 5 of 6, 2 of 6, 3 of 6, 3 of 7, 2 of 5, 5 of 9, 8 of 12, 3 of 8, 3 of 5, 4 of 6, 6 of 14. Unbelievable. That is an incredible run.
Yeah.
And he's doing exactly what they brought him here to do. He is beloved in the locker room. Just Danny Green, man. Like, he still has the fact that he has this much left in the tank is really awesome.
A lot left in the tank and a lot left in his diaper.
That's right. Plenty in the diaper. Maybe take some of the diaper out. Maybe that'll help a little bit. But both Danny and I think Danny's been better lately and more relevant. But I think Seth has been just a really solid pickup. Like, both Daryl has not done much, right? Like, he really hasn't done much at all. Mm-hmm. He gets here, he trades Josh Richardson for Seth Curry, he trades Al Horford and a pick for Danny Green. And then it's like, let's see how this plays out. And then made the draft picks that came to him, and then at the deadline made a very base hit for George Hill type of trade. Didn't swindle anybody for George Hill because he had to trade a couple seconds in that. It was just like, here's the most normal things anyone's ever done. And it's worked out. I really like Seth here. I think he's obviously had a couple bad stretches and bad games and times when he disappears and looks a little too small on the court, but just his shooting gravity and also his touch on his drives, and I really like his handle. I think there were, going into the season, also Dwight is another signing that Darryl made, but going into the season it was who's going to be the guy that we dump on this season. There's always a new guy that comes that you're just kind of, you think that they're good from afar. We talk about this all the time. You think you're good from afar, but then they get to play here, and it's like, not as good as you thought. Mm-hmm. From 2012 or 2013 or so, we had like your Sergio Rodriguez, your Gerald Henderson, your Luke Bahamutes. Like you've gone through them all, and so it stood to reason that it would be one of these guys. But they've all just been great, and they've been exactly what you expect them to be. And it's Danny and Dwight especially have been incredible for vibes. And Seth, I think Embiid in the post-game interview called Seth Steph by mistake, which hopefully is a hint for
sign of things to come.
A move coming this offseason.
Yeah.
Where we have both Curry brothers and just dominate the league. But so far it's been what a treat. This whole season has been a very normal treat, like not even a special treat, just the most normal treat that you could possibly imagine.
The only weaknesses with Curry, I mean, he's not a super complete player, but he's just, because they're basically a guard short of a normal team, he's just a little too important, I would say. Not too important, but like his usage is a little high, I guess, when I'm watching. It's just like they ask him to do a little more than I would want Seth Curry to do, and he probably plays a few more minutes than I would want him to play. But by and large, he's been good, probably a little bit better than I expected him to be, I would say.
Yeah.
You mentioned
your point about the Tobias. Sorry, his offense wasn't great. Still a plus 20. Still just like only took 11 shots. Didn't take any threes, which is problematic. But like on a night that he didn't quite have it, he moved the ball well. Like took what the defense gave him. He went up for a very big dunk that he didn't get. They got fouled on. But I have just a tremendous amount of newfound and surprising respect for Tobias this season, because he has been absolutely ridiculously consistent. And even on nights he doesn't have it, he still like brings it in different ways. Come on. They beat the Celtics 3-0. Back to first place. Celtics under 500. Really hard to be upset. Really hard to be upset. Let's try though. But I agree with Sharp. I do think the podcast is better when we're upset. But I'm not upset right now.
Well, I can tell you there's no Celtics fans listening now. Like, they love listening when we're unhappy, which is I heard from a Ricky listener this week that was listening to a Celtics podcast after they lost. I guess that's something that people do. They listen to rival podcasts when the team isn't doing well, which is very...
I could see it.
Funny to me.
I could see getting enjoyment at that. Alyssa's a USC fan and watched a bunch of UCLA fans reacting to the Jalen Suggs shot going in.
Oh, wow.
So I was enjoying that. So I feel like it's a similar thing.
For a second, I thought you said Alyssa's a UFC fan. I was like, well, that's weird.
No, that'd be different. That'd be an interesting personality choice for her.
So one thing, not to be upset about, but was like a little bit, like a minor little bit of disconcerting, is they asked Doc Rivers at his press availability before the game when George Hill was going to play. And he was like, yeah, you don't want to fuck around with that thumb thing. When it gets hit, it hurts real bad. I don't know when he's coming back. Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that was like a little surprising because it wasn't what I thought was happening. I do think there's a possibility that Doc Rivers doesn't feel like answering questions about George Hill every time, so he just said that so everyone would leave him alone. But there's also the possibility that George Hill doesn't come back to like the last week of the season or something, which is suboptimal,
Yeah.
For a point guard.
It's a kernel of weirdness, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the kernel of, like, we can see this developing into something very odd, but maybe not league-wide odd. Sort of in the Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson, taking a month to get here.
But he's here at least. He's on the road trip.
He's here at least. He's getting a sense of the vibes, and he's contributing, and he's dressing well, and all of that stuff. But, yeah, I think I do agree in the sense of, like, well, at least he can try to work himself into shape. It's not like a hamstring, which is uncomfortable. It's not like a knee or a lower back or something that would really like be upsetting. A thumb is at least an isolated thing, and I get why you wouldn't want to re-aggravate it because that gotta hurt like a motherfucker. But hopefully he's going through getting a sense of it, so that when he comes in and plays with these guys in the late stage of the season at this point, it won't take much time for him to acclimate and get a sense of what his job is and everything.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I do think my favorite. So the starting lineup right now is just like good. Like it's just good. They're going to be able to play in the playoffs. I don't think Seth. I'm interested to see Seth at his volume of minutes in a playoff atmosphere. How often he gets targeted, because he doesn't really get targeted much during regular season games.
George Hill will get some Seth minutes, I think.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just the starting lineup flows together so nicely, and they really have a good sense of each other. And the bench is still a spot where you're not gonna play 10 people in a the heart of an important playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
So who's it going to be? And so you're looking around, and there was a lineup from the other day that was Shake, Korkmaz, Matisse, Tobias, Dwight, which I really like a lot. And I think that Doc loves flirting with that Matisse, Ben, Dwight lineup. Like, he looks at the numbers, He looks at the numbers and sees like this isn't working, but he just can't quit it. Like he just can't get over it. He's like, I think it might work. I think these guys are all long and good, and I can find a way to make it work, and it never does. And he keeps trying different. Who's the other two in those two lineups? Like maybe if it's Seth, maybe if it's Shake, maybe it's Mike Scott, maybe it's anybody, and it's not going to work. There's just not enough shooting out there. The defense just doesn't respect enough people's shots to not just clog the lane, and it becomes like Shake. It's as if like Shake is they'll have like an audience for Shake to dribble around. Everyone's just standing there being like, okay, now let's see how you weave through people because no one else is moving or doing anything.
Mike, I was looking at the DraftKings app today, and with baseball back, I decided to look at baseball odds. Have you ever looked at baseball odds? Like just game-to-game odds? They're weird. Yeah. I had never looked because I was talking with James Seltzer at work, and the underdogs even are not like the odds are very close. I guess because there's so many games, but you don't find like big underdogs. You don't find like a lot of like, oh, they're plus 250 or plus 275. Everything's like plus 110 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would bet on one specific baseball game. Live betting I would probably do. I'm too scared to bet on baseball. Anyway, basketball, I know. I feel like I can bet a basketball. I feel like I could be an expert. So thankfully, I don't bet all in as if I'm an expert. But as I've told you, the live betting on Sixers games, I feel like I have an advantage. DraftKings is the only place you want to bet. It's the best app. They're our sponsor, so you have to bet with them. But it's definitely the best app. Final month of the season, last 5 weeks. What they want to do is give you a chance to win $100 very, very easily. Here's what you do. Turn $1 into $100. You pick any basketball team to win their next game. And if that team hits a 3, you win $100 in free bets. They hit 1 3.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So pretty much any team but ours, you have almost
feel good.
Yeah, you have almost a full shot of winning. That's 100-to-1 odds on the team of your choosing to hit a 3, and they don't even need to win. They just need to hit a 3. You get $100 in free bets, hitting threes at a remarkable pace this year. So it's like they're just trying to give you $100 in free bets. Safe, secure, reliable. Deposit your money, goes right in there. Withdraw your money, take it right out. When I'm playing the blackjack in a casino, what I do is I put $25 in, and when I get to 50, I just withdraw all my money, and I say goodbye for the day. And you can do it. Ends up in your checking account in it goes to my PayPal immediately, and then in my checking account in another day. Anyway, DraftKings is how you got to bet. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code RTRS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. If the basketball team of your choosing hits a 3, that's code RTRS to turn $1 into $100 in free bets for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Part of the problem, too, I think, it is a bit of a puzzle in that we always talk about the combinations we don't want to see.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's just not enough players to make it. Like the issue. One of the issues now is that Dwight's the only backup center, and I don't know if they have enough players for us to keep the starters from playing the minutes that we don't want them to play, especially with him not really playing Maxey at all. I don't know.
That's why I like that lineup. I think you could slot in George Hill for Korkmaz and have enough ball handling, enough defense, enough length, enough Matisse acting as your sort of rover. Tobias and Shake I think are both. Shake might get a little exposed in the playoffs defensively, but I think he's a league average defender. Tobias is better than league average. Spike, acknowledge it.
Better than league average?
Better than league average. Tobias, absolutely. 100%. 100%. Not a chance I'm backing down from this. He is. I think.
Well, I'm not expecting you to back down from it.
I won't. Is he better than like all of the starting lineups in the league? Is he above league average for like starters? Maybe not. Maybe he's average for that, but I think if you look at the league as a whole, I think he is an above-average defender. Absolutely, he can switch, he can move his feet, he gets his hands in there, he can go vertical at the rim. He's good. He's just good. He's just very good. and I'm there. I'm there for him, and I ride for him. And look, we talked some negative stuff about Tobias early in the season, but I always was steadfast in my defense of his defense, and I'm now doubling even more down on the defensive improvements because he's deserved it. 2 steals and a block tonight. Simmons with another 3-steal game.
Look at you with your counting stats.
But you felt it though, right? Like this was a game where you felt like they were just like affecting everything, getting their hands on everything, deflections out the wazoo.
The Celtics, to me, like a lot of teams, Angelo actually mentioned this to me this morning. He was like, it just seems like most of the teams are just waiting for the regular season to end at this point. It feels more that way to me than most NBA regular seasons do. There is a point where there's like usually 3 weeks left where it gets like that, but it does seem like everyone's sort of vaulted into that a little bit more quickly. And man, Celtics...
I'm sure they're fucking tired of doing this, you know? I'm sure they're tired of playing. The schedule's condensed. They're having to get tested. They're not being able to like see as many people as they want to, and their freedoms are like limited and stuff. And so I'm sure it just sucks. I'm sure, like, especially if you're a multi-million-dollar athlete and you kind of can do whatever you want. Now it's just like, hey, you have to keep playing, but also like you can't do all of these things. I'm sure it's just like kind of aggravating. But I'm glad that other teams are struggling and the Sixers aren't. Like it feels really good. Talking about Simmons for a second. I thought it was a fine Simmons game. I don't think it was, especially offensively, I don't think it was great. I thought there were a few too many like multi-post up offensive sets for my taste, where it was like, okay, Joel's going to post up, he's going to kick it out. Okay, Ben's going to post out, he's going to kick it out. And then Tobias is going to post up. It's just like everybody's getting their turn. And obviously Ben right now, especially backing down, is the worst of those by a lot. I would like to see him face up more if he's going to get into the post and do that kind of thing. But I thought he did a good job of getting Embiid the ball in spots where he could get to the line easily. And when Embiid like seals well or has a mismatch on him, I think Ben does a good job of like finding him down there. And there was also a very nice, ridiculous up and under finish that Ben had over Grant Williams. But again, I'd prefer the dunk. I would prefer the dunk every time. But it's still nice.
I don't know what complaint you have, man. The guy's 24s, averages 15, 7, and 6. With elite defense. I don't, like he's a top 20 player in the league. I don't know why anyone would complain about anything he does. Can I just tell you? I don't even want to discuss it. I just want to. We got one of our regular emailers, good dude, Arsenio, emails, and he goes, I emailed him back, I'm not doing that email on the pod. And it was like, I personally will get killed. And now he's tweeting at me, read the email. He said, you guys have talked a lot about closing lineups and offense-defense substitution since the Hill trade. In the playoffs, if the Sixers had the final possession with a chance to win, I would bench Simmons. In that half-court situation, what reason would he be on the floor? I'd rather have Hill, Shake, Furk, even Thibault to spot up instead of lurking in the dunker spot. Would Doc do this? One possession. He would not do it.
He definitely wouldn't do it. I think it's not. I think it's a. If it's an offensive possession, there's like 12 seconds left or something, and they're down 1. You can
make the argument.
There's good reason. You can make the argument that he shouldn't be out there for sure. I would say the reason to have him out there is because basketball is a weird game and things happen, and he's going to be the first guy to the ball. If there's an offensive rebound or a loose ball or something, he's just going to get there faster.
Well, also I would say just the mental team thing.
Oh yes. I mean that for sure, and that's why he won't do it.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for it because we've seen it enough times. There's no getting around it. Like especially in the half court setting, there is a limited amount of usefulness to him, and we'll see as it that comes and goes. We're in a stretch right now that his usefulness is not super high. He missed his first 4 free throws tonight, which was tough, but he hit the next 4, which was a good bounce back. Yeah, I mean, I hear that. I don't think he'll do it though.
No, he would never do it. 5 years ago today, April 6th, Mark Stein, I believe, broke it and printed the letter. Sam Hinkie resigned from the Philadelphia 76ers via crazy long letter to the owners that somehow magically made it into Mark Stein's hands. I remember where I was. I also remember I've mentioned a few times talking you into doing a podcast, which you were refusing to do. Can you imagine? Sam Hinkie resigns and we don't do one.
A protest non-pod. That's how you hold the Sixers to account is by not doing a podcast.
If we had, I have never listened to that. I've never listened to that pod. I don't listen to any of our pods. We did do an all-star reading of the letter with a bunch of LL was on it, Dietrich was on it, Ange was on it, Weber, I think. I can't even remember who else was on it. If I had asked you that day, I'm sorry. Let me ask this again. I think now, knowing what we know over the last 2 or 3 years, we're not very surprised that he's not in basketball, that he never came back in basketball and probably never will. I think if you took another further step back, isn't it kind of wild that he's not, that he never did it again? Like, how many people get to that level and just not only are not GMs again, but not assistant GM, don't work in a front office, yada, yada, yada. It is just pretty crazy, and it speaks to his sort of lunacy that he can go in and do it and then just never do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, he was an assistant for how long in Houston? Like 11 years? Something like that? And for him to go, because he was there for... I don't think he was never in Boston, and so he got there once Darryl got there. And
no,
so
he was there before Darryl. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
He was there a year or two before Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been like, I don't know, early to mid 2000s, and to be there for such a long time as an assistant, working your way up through to assistant GM.
So he got there. He got there in 2005 as a special assistant, and then was promoted to VP in 2007. And then came to us in 2013.
Yeah, so like 8 years. So it was eight years working up there and probably trying to get in before then. Mm-hmm. Gets to assistant GM, becomes GM of a team. At least in the early part of it, could sort of see his plan out. Mm-hmm. He got ownership buy-in to do what he wanted to do, and made the picks that he wanted to make. And until the Okafor pick, we'll just hold it there. And then to be like a barrage of league bullshit, a barrage of Colangelos, like dealing with the shit you don't want to deal with. And then to be like, now that he knows the game and knows what he would do differently, to just be like, and is sort of this like infamous weirdo, an infamous figure in the league, like almost like a boogeyman a little bit of, like what they're used to, like the first one, like the sacrificial lamb. Like, I don't know how like Adam Silver would like react to him coming back. It would be incredibly hypocritical if he was like blocking it anyway, whatever it is. But it is bizarre to be like, you work up to something so much, you are that person for 3 years, you endure a bunch of bullshit, and then be like, I'm done. I don't need it. I'm good. It's a lot. It was less than 3 years, and it is pretty weird that that is how it shook out. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think he's going to come back. I think he just must have he must have hated it more. He either must have hated it more than he even lets on now, or he didn't need to be like the decision maker as much as you would guess. In that, like, when he was in Houston, it didn't feel like him and Darryl maybe were like so simpatico or something like that. That it didn't feel like I got to get my own show, basically. I got to run my own show. And then to do it for 3 years, less than 3 years, and for it to be like a lot of good stuff and a ton of misery, to just bail is really weird.
One of the things about health that I ignore specifically is getting a good night's sleep. Are you there?
I love health.
Are you a health guy?
Health is one of my favorite things. Just generally,
really,
seeing health, feeling health, discussing health.
Well,
top to bottom.
One of the things that I ignore and I'll get to where I'm going with this. One of the things I ignore with health, unfortunately, let's not say I ignore it. I don't ignore it. I just am not able to achieve it. Is a good night's sleep. I don't sleep enough. I sleep like 5.5 hours a night. I wake up like 6 times. Are you a good sleeper? Are you an 8 hours guy?
No. I'm a 7.
7 hours guy.
And sometimes, 7. Sometimes, give or take. I'm a mediocre sleeper.
The worst thing
I get the job. I can flip the switch in the playoffs when I need to.
To sleep, to become a good sleeper.
Yeah, I can flip the switch. Flipping the switch off is generally where it goes, but yeah.
The worst thing for me is if I wake up, because I get up early, get up at like 5 a.m. If I get up at 2:30 and think about one thing for work, it's over. I can't go back to sleep. Anyway, somebody in my house that does sleep well is Rebel, my dog. Because my dog Rebel has the best dog bed they make. The only dog bed that's a real bed. The only bed that specifically is made to make your dog healthier by supporting your joints, engineered by experts. That is Big Barker. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. Your dog can sleep like Rebel. That's right, comfortably, with joints that are supported. And if you go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you get the Process Pup Patch. That's right, the Process Pup Patch. In fact, you get 2 of them so your dog can be an official Process Pup. I got a great email from Craig. Craig's dog, Fiona, had surgery on her hip. I forget, it was hip or knees. Oh, no, it was her hips, so she could walk. She wasn't going to be able to walk in 2 years if she didn't have this surgery. She gets the Big Barker dog bed after the surgery, and the email says they went to the vet, told them about the Big Barker. The vet said, it doesn't get any better than that. Fiona literally lays on the Big Barker all day long, even when she sleeps, as she recovers. Been proven by Penn Vet to improve the health and happiness of your dog. Seriously, 100% proven. Joint health, sleeps better, young, old, big, small, Big Barker. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, if your dog doesn't like it, they'll give you a full refund, even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. My perception is the reason that he's not back is that what he saw was the situation that he would need with ownership to want to do it, and he knows he's never going to find it. Like the odds of actually finding an opening at the time that you want the opening, at the place with the people you want it to be, and then for you to get the job what he knows he's not going to do is grind in the NBA just to get another GM job. Just not how he's built. I just wanted to read you some of the lines from the. Now he gets to
be the owner, basically, in whatever VC bullshit he's doing.
Right. Yeah. Just buy stuff and learn about learning and whatever the picnics and whatever they were talking about, and whatever. Some lines from the letter, just the opening. I hope this letter finds you well. I've been serving at the Sixers at your pleasure for the past 34 months. Atul Gawande.
Starting a 13-page resignation with, I hope this letter finds you well, like you're sending it to either someone you're trying to scam or like a long-lost friend who you've had like a lot of animosity towards for like decades.
Yeah, you probably talked to one of these people yesterday. I hope this letter finds you well. Atul Gawande.
That was like the first thing he wrote, and he just like never changed it. He was like, all right, I guess I got to start with something. I hope this letter finds you well, something. And I'll go back and change it. I'll change it.
Atul Gawande, a surgeon at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, remains from afar one of my favorite reads. He laughs that reading scientific studies has long been a guilty pleasure. Reading investor letters has long been one of mine. To attempt to convince others that our actions are just will just serve to paint us in a different light among some of our competitors as progressives worth emulating versus adversaries worthy of their disdain. Call me old-fashioned, but sometimes the optimal place for your light is hiding right directly under a bushel. Okay. This one is famous. This is a great one. Lastly, And by the way, this is on the first page. Lastly, this letter will only speak to the part of the business today that I am steward of, the basketball team and its attendant operations. With Scott O'Neill running our business operations, you are in good hands. I can assure you that when your team is eventually able to compete deep into May, Scott will ably and efficiently separate the good people of the Delaware Valley from their wallets on your behalf. Worry not. Which is...
I mean, that's an iconic burn.
Yes, iconic. Couple other ones, just some things he likes to do. Use a decision journal. Write in your own words what you think will happen and why before any decision. Refer back to it later. See if you were right. Can you imagine going to dinner?
He's just tossing out some advice.
Yep.
In a resignation letter.
New Zealand's flightless bird, the moa, measuring at 10 feet, 400 pounds, had the life tramping around in the South Island for a great long run. I still miss BlackBerry's keyboard, but the 2007 iPhone debut rendered it nearly obsolete to all but a few of us curmudgeons. Here we go. We have had the good fortune of drafting relatively early, giving us access to some especially talented players, including Jahlil Okafor, Joel Embiid, and Nerlens Noel. Many in our office tried to set a line of when Jahlil would see his first double team in this league. Those with the under looked smart by the end of opening night when he went for 26 points and 7 rebounds. So, still bragging about Jahlil Okafor. We also put ourselves into position to draft in the second round, where we found 2 22-year-old gems to date, including Jeremy Grant and Rashawn Holmes. Outside of the top 60 selections, delivered 2 more players with real NBA futures in 24-year-old TJ McConnell and 25-year-old Robert Covington. Robert is a mistake I rubbed my own nose in for over a year. And then finally, a part that we did not even realize until several pods ago. In the interim, I'll probably be with my wife and kids for a few weeks. If you need to reach me, now or later, I'm available at redacted email address, and I suspect someday soon on Twitter via @SamHinkie.
Tweet at me. Tweet some recipes or any of our fun memories together.
Oh boy, hard to stump
because Daryl did this. Not in this kind of letter, but imagine if Hinkie sent this whole letter and then immediately took over
a different team,
the Wolves.
Yeah,
2 weeks later.
Yeah, that's what Daryl did.
That's what Daryl did.
The hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week. Leave us a comment here on YouTube. We might read it. It's brought to you by Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter. Gluten-free, fucking the best, filtered about a bazillion times, kosher, and you can be part of the Stateside Winners Club. Win a case of Stateside Vodka. That's right. Every month they're giving away a case. Go to statesidevodka.com. Got to be 21 to drink. All right, this one comes from Rob Smith. I like Tobias's contract more than the one Jrue Holiday just signed. Oh, no face. What do you think of that Jrue Holiday contract? I mean, they had to give it to him, but $40 million a year for Jrue Holiday seems like a lot.
That does seem like a lot.
Yeah. He's good. Seems like he'll probably age pretty well. He's not based on, athleticism entirely. He's not like Mr. Explosive. He's 31.
Yeah.
I guess you have to pay him.
When you get to a situation where every decision that you make, you're just going to the most extreme version of it because you're trying to make someone happy. It feels like you're in danger of messing up for the future. But I get why you just want to be like, let's make sure we lock up Middleton, we lock up Giannis, we lock up Jrue. This is going to be the team, and we'll tinker around it with buyout guys and late picks, second round picks, and guys we can get for cheap. It's just going to be these guys. We know it, and so whatever. I get how you get there, but it's a lot of money, and they traded a lot for him, and et cetera, et cetera. So this could be the kind of thing where, if Giannis, for some reason, he's not an excellent jump shooter, and he's a smart player, but he's not like Jokic level, only successful because of his basketball IQ, really. If his athleticism leaves him, if he turns into Blake Griffin, like that becomes bad. That becomes bad quick. And I don't think it will for quite a while. He's still pretty young, but I guess that's, if you win a championship, then it's fine. Then you just say, like, that's what we had to do. We won a championship. That's forever.
Well, the other thing that Milwaukee's not attracting any free agents. So
yeah, of course.
So, like, it sort of is what it is. One of the things that this will be an off-season pod at some point. I remember hearing Zach Lowe talking about it with, I forget if it was Pelton or whatever. They were talking about contracts and the CBA and the union. It's like one of the things that's sort of weird is that it always seems like it's max or nothing. And it's one of the things that gets everybody into trouble is having to give the player the most money possible or they'll leave. And there are so many players that are not worth that, but you're stuck because they will leave if you don't give it to them. And it's, I guess they're worth it on the market, but you know what I mean. As far as like a percentage of the cap, they're not worth it. And that's where those bad contracts come from, The Joel Embiid, we are down to the final four of the Joel Embiid moments. I need your picks. We are down to the final four, Mike. Voted on Twitter. We'll do the final ones tomorrow. Number 2 seed, retweet Armageddon on one side of the bracket against the number 3 seed, stops the pandemic cutbacks. What do you choose?
Wow.
Yeah. Ricky appearance knocked out, by the way.
By which one?
Baiting Donovan Mitchell into a tech.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And obviously self-serving of us to think so.
Well, come on, man. I mean,
that's a tough one. I think that the
I know what I think is gonna win.
Forcing the owner's hand is the most. It's like two parts of Embiid's totality. It's forcing owner's hand is him recognizing his power as the guy who can get people to do whatever he wants and especially get people to do whatever he wants for good. Like the fact that it was a good thing that is helpful to the city that he now claims and loves. And then on the other side of it is him participating in one of the dumbest and most esoteric things possible. I would probably say forcing the owner's hand on cutbacks.
I think that's what will win. Man, something that you didn't mention when you're talking about him participating in Retweet Armageddon is that he did it by retweeting my dad.
That's right.
I mean, there are a lot of levels to all of this, but that is, man, the internet was so funny that day. I mean,
good day.
And I remember hearing that the Sixers writers, not all of them, because some of them may have been involved in the Congress, but some of them were very, very upset that it was going on. And I think they missed the point of it being funny. I think we all got retweeted that day. But
the Sixers beat writers, like the old guard?
Yes.
Sure. I hear why they would think that.
Yeah, it was so funny, man. Such a funny day.
Don't be so wrong all the time.
Yeah.
If you're going to post something online, that's going to be wrong. People are going to bring it up.
Can you imagine the panic of people just thinking, oh no. And the key to it all was Brandon Lee Gouton, who just kept a record of everybody's tweets. So,
yeah. Brandon has a lot of talents. He's a very talented guy. But there's no better than getting a fave from BLG and knowing what's coming in the future.
And the other side of the bracket, the number 1 seed names himself the Process.
Yeah.
Versus the number 1 seed, the Airplane versus Toronto.
Yeah. I will go, I picked Airplane the previous round because in an isolated moment that was the coolest thing, and I felt the best I felt about the Sixers in my entire life in that moment. But now we're in the Final Four, and you guys start thinking about what comes after. Mm-hmm. And I would be remiss to say that there was not tremendous disappointment and lifelong trauma as a result in the days following that. But Joel naming himself the process and continuously doing that is a validation of the past and an iconic thing from the future that will never be escaped. And I think it's a pretty easy process win for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it was unbelievable that he did it. So, and still does it, by the way. Like, he's still the process. I mean, it's unreal.
It's a nickname. I mean, it's not as cool of a nickname. Like, if I divorce myself from it in the context, it's not as cool as like the answer or like some other. It doesn't kind of have as much of a ring to it. But I think it's it's
an all-time nickname.
It's one of the better. Yeah, it's one of the most all-time nicknames, especially in the last like 10 years where there haven't been many. It's great. I mean, it's incredibly special.
It's no Slim Reaper, I guess.
Sure.
So
Big Ticket is a nickname I always liked.
Big Ticket is a good one. Lorenzo Brown mailbag writes.
Rain Man for Sean Kemp was also great.
Was a great one. Great one. Yeah, man, he was awesome. Lorenzo Brown mailbag writes to RickySanchez@gmail.com. Send a basketball question and a non-basketball question. Mike has already heard this email, but you, the listener, have not. It's one of the more unbelievable emails I think we've ever received. On the last pod, somebody asked us what our favorite TV shows and movies were when we were younger. The one show that Mike and I sort of, in the Venn diagram of things that we like, because we're much different ages, was The Wonder Years. Mike mentioned he loved The Wonder Years. That was my favorite show of all time. So I bring you this email from Jeremy. Hey, Spike and Mike, first time emailing, longtime listener from Philly, but now living in Austin, Texas. I thought you would both be interested to hear that there is a connection between one of your favorite childhood shows and the pod. The Wonder Years is actually based on my father and creator Neil Marlin's childhood growing up in Huntington on Long Island. My father, Paul Arnold, is the basis for the character Paul Pfeiffer, and I can assure you my father is every bit as nerdy as is depicted on the show. Neil is a close family friend and is serving as an advisor for the new Wonder Years reboot. The violin practice paid off. My father has been a violinist in the Philadelphia Orchestra for the past 38 years. Like in the show, he is truly allergic to everything, and he is a huge Sixers fan, but thinks everyone needs to pump fake more.
That is a nice, first of all, nice email, and so weird anytime anyone comes out of the woodwork and says like, "Hey, I've been listening to this podcast this whole time, and here's a very strange thing about me," and also a very nice, sort of low-key dad take about wanting to pump fake more. Like the long twos, I think, is a more traditional one, and I think hearing a pump fake advocate, I think, is a little nice change of pace.
Yeah, I wrote in an email back to him. Like coincidentally, one of my favorite Wonder Years episodes was when Paul got good at basketball and beat Kevin one-on-one, and Kevin like couldn't resolve it in his head that this dork Paul that he beat all the time was actually beating him. They had to have like a talk about it at the end of the episode. So we look forward to having the real Paul Pfeiffer on the pod in the off season. It's a long off season.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Pauls,
yeah,
I would be remiss
B-ball.
now to
you
not
don't want
mention
to be remiss.
B-ball Paul.
The block.
Where there was a nice article from Rich Hoffman in The Athletic.
The one that claimed that Matt Cord popularized the nickname B-ball Paul.
He certainly said. I mean, I give credit to Matt Cord for saying it on the PA. I think that's worth noting.
It's worth noting.
The two things that I loved. This line, Reed said that Sixers veterans have taken under their wing. Mike Scott hooked him up with a barber and paid for his haircuts. Dwight took him shopping right when he got to Philly. Tobias, very predictably, bought Paul some books and provided financial advice. And Danny Green is someone he consistently talks to as well. Obviously, everybody very on brand for their own thing. And then the line that I really liked, that Paul said, girls called him B-Ball Paul in college, which I think is really very funny.
Yes.
That he has, and he's been living with this for so long. He said like it's happened in like middle school, high school, and just continued B-Ball Pauling to the fact that it like transcended the basketball court. When he's off the court, he's still B-Ball Paul. And presumably the way he said it in the quote in the article, and you should read the article, is like, yeah, girls loved calling me B-Ball Paul, which is so funny to me. That is so funny that like he's walking around being like, The girls love calling me B-Ball Paul. I don't know how they said it. I would love to get like audio of like girls at, again, DePaul, where B-Ball Paul went to college in Chicago. Would love to hear how they said it. Were they saying it like romantically? Were they like taunting him, teasing him? Just saying it very genuinely and finding him to be a lovely man. I'd like to know more, but I'm grateful for the knowledge.
This comes from Mark. Basketball question. If you could take any active non-NBA professional athlete and put him on the Sixers, who would it be? And do you think they could make the starting lineup?
Interesting.
It's too hard. I don't know.
So an athlete that did not play basketball.
Well, no, a non-NBA player, but can be a professional athlete. I mean, can be a basketball player, but is a professional athlete. Yeah.
I mean, like maybe like a Russell Wilson. As a
if you're gonna do that, maybe a Mahomes.
Sure.
You know,
it seems like Wilson's faster, and so the skill set would be more appreciated right now. Also, Russell Wilson's younger sister was a player on that Stanford women's team that just won the championship.
Oh, really?
And he was at the games, which was cool to see.
I'm sorry,
Russell Wilson would be cool.
I just don't fucking Nick Foles. He's a really good basketball player.
Sure, yeah, Nick Foles, yeah.
It would be hilarious. Non-basketball.
Who do you think Nick Foles plays basketball like? I would say probably like James Ennis.
No, I think he's better than that.
No,
I think Nick Foles is like good.
James Ennis is an NBA player.
Well, but
he's very good.
Barely.
If Nick Foles was in the NBA, he would not be better than James Ennis.
Not be better than, but have a better game. James Ennis is uncomfortable to watch.
If you saw James Ennis play basketball at a park,
yes, of course,
you would lose your fucking mind.
I'm not an idiot. I understand that, but like if I'm trying to picture Nick Foles' game, I'm picturing it in the best case scenario, not just throwing him in the NBA, I guess. I'm trying to think of what Nick Foles would look like in a pickup game, not what he would look like in the NBA. Does that make sense? I'm thinking about the best version of Nick Foles, not fucking total spaz.
So you think like Paul George or something?
See, this is going to come off wrong because I'm just picking a fucking white guy, but Gordon Hayward is what pops into my head.
I think there's a reason why it pops into your head. I think it's a very clear reason.
Non-basketball question. You're either going to give a thoughtful answer to this or hate this question. I thought it was interesting.
There's no middle.
Question for Mike. I am weirdly really fascinated by the world of comedy and what makes some things funny and other things not, particularly since comedy is a field where literally everyone makes jokes at some point or another, but only some people are considered professional comedy writers. As a comedy writer, do you spend a lot of time unpacking jokes you hear in the world to dissect why they are or are not funny? Like if a cashier makes a joke to you at the grocery store, do you think that was funny, but a different punchline would have made it even more hilarious? Or if you're watching a show and a joke doesn't quite land, do you think start thinking in your own head how you would make it better? Do you have a list of top 10 all-time favorite jokes? Is there a process at all to writing jokes, i.e. crafting the punchline first and then working at the setup? Or is it just randomly coming up with things that make you laugh? Do you have a process for testing the jokes you write to ensure they're funny outside your own head?
A lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
I think that, I do spend some time thinking about why things are funny. Instantly talking about why something is funny makes it 1,000 times less funny. Once you start hearing the process, something about like so much of comedy is just like saying something surprising or unexpected, like in the moment, at like a well-timed speed. And everybody has their own version of what that is. And it's obviously incredibly subjective. So like there's no right answer to it. I think that when I'm in writers' rooms and we're pitching, alts for a joke and finding what the best area would be, and everyone just kind of throws their jokes out, and then we pick like, the couple we like, and we're trying to like mash them into like what should be the one joke to put in, it does become a little bit clinical in the sense of like, okay, what is the quickest way to say it? How long is this actor like good at saying the lines long? Are they like a quick and easy one? Are they going to get like marble mouthed if they have too many words to say or forget the line or whatever it is, which is what you have to think of as a
and you're writing for somebody else as opposed to he seemed to be sort of venturing into sort of like stand up, which is a different thing that you're writing for because you're writing your own voice, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's all very. I think there are a ton of things. No Cashier's ever made me laugh. I'll just say that. There's people think that things are funny that because they're predisposed to think that, and if it's, you know, everybody has their own cup of tea, and some things people like really funny, like raunchy things that you've heard like 1,000 times, but just repeating it in that way makes people laugh and they think that that's funny. But I think it's, you know, other people's taste is a little bit more just like surprising and like a something from like, oh, I didn't expect that. I think that's a lot of it is just that I didn't expect that. I don't talk about this in like any sort of cohesive way, any educational academic sense, but there is definitely a process of like, you know, we'll go through a script. I know he's not necessarily talking about that, but you're thinking of an area. If you're writing a joke, you're thinking of like what could go here. You're thinking of character. You're thinking of like timing. You're thinking of what was like grounded in this scene, like all that stuff. And so I think if I've done stand up a little bit, but I don't like it that much.
It's terrifying to me.
I mean, it's just
I did it one time. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. I will never do it ever again in my whole life.
I mean, it's
horrible.
just it's you find the way that you want to be funny. I think it's certainly interesting. Like if there are this, I haven't read. I don't know why I was going to say this, but there are books like out there like diagnosing why that something is funny, and I've like heard about them, and I've never read it, and I would never do it. But like you just like you find what is your cup of tea, and you go for it. I don't know. I'm not giving this a good answer, and I don't have any good answers to it, but yes to all of his questions, and someone else that's better at talking about it than me would probably have a more thoughtful answer.
You were like, I'm not going to lie about reading that book.
I don't know why I'm fucking reading books. What are we doing?
I think to me, the interesting thing about comedy, it's the same as music and things like that, because you mentioned it's subjective. It is, but it's neat to me, things that are creative, that there's consensus on something subjective, that a lot of people would find it funny, even though it is subjective, that we don't all have our specific own taste. That's what is interesting to me, like figuring whatever that out. But
there's also, you know, that a lot of subjectivity to basketball and sports and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Sub question for both of you. I used to think that your jokes were worth a chuckle every now and again, but now I find myself regularly laughing out loud at the podcast. Has your guys' approach to humor changed over time, or am I just experiencing Stockholm Syndrome?
I think you definitely, once you feel like you start to know a show or whatever characters better, that you feel like you can laugh at it. Like if you turned on an episode, just picking a random show, like if you turned on like season 4, episode 8 of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you've never seen it before, and you watched the show, you would be like, I don't really know why this, whatever. Like a couple jokes land, or you're like, oh, you don't understand. Like so much of like, I don't know, long running things, whether it's television or this podcast, is like feeling in on the joke and feeling like you have like a shared history and knowing why this is funny and what kind of person or character or whatever it is that would make such a thing funny. So I do think that like I don't think we've gotten any funnier. I think we're probably doing the same jokes over and over again, to be honest. But I do think just like spending time with us listening to this podcast will have made you feel like, oh, I know what they're talking about and they're making this kind of joke and I can laugh at it more.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I also think us doing it for this many years, like, you know, we're probably better at it now than we were.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say? I mean, we'd have to be,
yeah,
right?
Especially the first few years. I don't know how much better at it we are from like years 4 through 8. I don't know if you can chart any more success there, but now you can watch me react facially, so that I guess that's an element to it.
And then final email, John from San Diego. We're so backed up in emails. I'm so sorry. John from San Diego. I live in San Diego, and I watch the Sixers games on League Pass. This is more of a question for you because I don't ever do this. I don't think I can. Watch the Sixers games on League Pass. I always watch the other team's broadcast, even though I've had to hear how Shake Milton got his nickname 31 times. That's better than listening to the Sixers announcers claim that the shot clock's been unplugged. Do you agree? Do you like watching, listening to the...
No, I mean, they do. I always listen to Mark and Alla. I think they do talk about Shake's nickname a lot. It's, everybody's got their, which I think is cute, and I actually like hearing it every time because I like hearing how people talk about it. I think some it just depends on the broadcast. I think some are pretty intolerable and some are really good. But I like, in the same way that we just answered the other question, like I like, even if Mark and Alla are like incredibly corny a lot of the time, I like knowing that they're like, one of us, and they're on the side, and we're all like going for the same thing, and there's like a shared history there, and I really do enjoy nearly all of Zumoff's sayings and stuff, even if their banter back and forth is a lot.
Partner, that's a great one.
But that's every broadcast. Every broadcast has that. I think like the idea, and we probably do this also, but like the idea of like two people on a broadcast, obviously they're almost always men, like saying they made a great point or like laughing so hard at the other person's thing that's not fun. That's one thing. It's like when people laugh at things that aren't funny, to me it's like intolerable. I laugh at, like, part of watching like reality shows is laughing at people that don't realize they're being funny. That I like.
Right.
But when people are trying to be funny and they fail and someone else laughs at them, that upsets me at like on a visceral level. It does.
And then
it really does.
Finally, in the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, I assume that's the movie, you can see a bag of Utz potato chips in the opening. It's obviously filmed in San Francisco, so how did that happen?
Feels like a trivia question.
Yeah. Well, Will Smith is from Philadelphia. Could that be?
Yeah, he might like it. I think the way that it works, they would have to get that cleared by like legal. You would have to, anything in the movie,
it's a brand name.
Contact Utz to make sure that they have permission to use it. Like we in our episode, like we have a pair of shoes is very integral to this episode that I'm in. So we need, like, Reebok is part of the story that is being told. Mm-hmm. And so like the legal department is like, please limit the use of the name, and if you could show it less than this many times or whatever the fuck it is. And sometimes, a lot of the time, too often, they're saying like, hey, you can't say this, you can't use this joke, you can't do that. And a lot of showrunners will push back, but it's also like a pick your spots type of thing.
Dude, there is a blog that just has people spotting product placement in movies. And there's a screenshot of the Utz bag in Pursuit of Happiness on said blog.
I would say it's not always product placement. I mean, especially for...
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's like, hey, I forget what show we were in. That was like, please, if you want to use this, like Toyota, and like say all the like facts about a Toyota car that we could get with these new rear steering, whatever the fuck. So that's funny and obnoxious, and you can see that. Especially, I mean, I keep referencing it, but the late stage Real Housewives of New York has a ton of product placement. It's really funny. But a lot of times, especially in comedy, like it's just for the joke. Like you just want to be like, hey, I want to make a joke about this thing. It's funny if they have this. And so people are like, as product placement, like, no, it's just they sort of backed into it because they wanted to do the joke about it.
There's the Wayne's World joke about selling out to any sponsor. I just happen to have this body bio thing right next to me. Anyway, all right. We'll talk to you later this week. Go Sixers. Nobody get hurt. Everybody be normal.
First place
Don't
again.
read books. Just tell people about them. Yeah, first place again. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah. Lick me.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
That's a plan.